Okay, I'm frozen.
You are.
Yep.
That's a new one.
Welcome to the Love Kanika podcast. My name is Kanika,
My name is Vanita.
and we are that. I feel like we've been gone forever.
We have been. It has to be like 3, 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's been 3 weeks, I think. A month,
Yeah.
maybe? Yeah, I think we've been gone for about a month.
Something like that. Yeah.
But anyway, welcome, guys. We are back after a little hiatus. We were vacationing. So took a couple of vacations in
Yes.
July. That's why we have been missing, but nonetheless, we are back. And I thank you for showing up for us again, as you always
Yes.
do. If you're new to the channel, which you probably are, if you don't mind liking and subscribing, also hitting the notification bell because we do this show every Wednesday at 7:30, and also sometimes on Sunday, so you'll be notified when we go live.
Yes.
So, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm
You doing
okay.
okay? Good.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm
How are
doing good.
you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I feel, rested from all of that traveling we did. We did a lot of traveling. You guys, we went
Yes.
to Cabo, went to Mexico, and we
Yes.
got in LA for a little bit. So we just been kicking it heavy, heavy.
True.
And usually it's funny because we would travel on Wednesdays and come back on Wednesdays.
Yes.
A lot of
So
times
that's why I've
we
been
couldn't,
missing the shows.
yeah, we couldn't do
Exactly.
the shows or whatever. But nonetheless, we are back and we should be good from here on out. Make sure we show up. Yeah.
Maybe one or two more left, but they'll
Yeah,
be spread out before the end of the year.
for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. So tonight's show, we're gonna talk about the Snow White syndrome, right?
Okay.
And I wanted to talk about this because I don't know if you guys watch this dating show Kendra G does. If you haven't went to her channel, Kendra G, she does this dating show where you can connect to her, I think
Hmm.
it's Zoom or StreamYard or whatever,
Hmm.
and you can tell the people about yourself, and everybody looking, who's looking for love or looking to date, or that person who's looking for love, they give out their Instagram, their Facebook, whatever, and you can reach out to them. which I think is actually a pretty cool concept or whatever. But what I did notice about the show that just kind of stood out to me specifically for the women, and women, I see this a lot and I hear this a lot. When they're on the show, they'll always say, when they broke up with the last person, divorced the last person, well, he was the wrong person, da da da. I'm looking for the right man, or I'm looking for the right dude. And I always think to myself, women believe that because a relationship didn't work, or the season was over, that was the wrong dude and another dude would be the right dude. And then we get into these relationships and we keep repeating the same pattern because women think that relationships are going to end in some sort of fairy tale. It's the Snow White syndrome, the happily ever, after
After. Hmm.
thing, that we were basically taught as little girls. And the truth of the matter is, relationships, number one, souls, people, they come into your life for your spiritual growth, to evolve you in this chosen lifetime. I personally believe we go through many a lifetimes, and each lifetime we come here to learn and grow and evolve and learn a bunch of lessons. And in these lifetimes, we meet certain people who assist us. We assist each other in growing and evolving, not uh the eternal search for happily ever after. And because women believe this so deep in their soul, we keep repeating the same thing over and over again, not really understanding that this ain't a fairy tale. This is the school of learning. This is basically the matrix. And unfortunately, because women believe this, they believe that, okay, let me go, he wasn't right. Okay, let me go search for another one. Okay, let me try to create a family, have another baby. Doesn't work out. Okay, he wasn't the right one. Okay, let me go to another man, find out, have another baby. That didn't work. Okay, he was the wrong one. It's not only is it creating a bunch of children, that are going to grow up broken, a lot of times because the relationships are breaking up. It's also creating a lot of baggage and disappointment for women. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, because the fairy tale was given to us as little girls. Did you not hear it, Vanita?
I mean, yeah, I think we all heard it. Your parents have you in front of the TV. So these are iconic movies that they have you watch, and they do convince you of things. And besides the Disney shows, because we're saying Cinderella, just regular TV shows, most of them portray, this happily ever after.
They
But
do.
my thing is the shows only last 2 hours. Life ain't 2 hours. Like,
It's not. It's
what
not.
what happens after? Like, okay, so you get the guy, and then what?
You get the guy, you have his baby, and then what?
And then what? Do you even like him? Do you even really know him?
And that's another thing. Uh the marriage program that has been given to us by the patriarchy, by men, women have this deep desperation and desire for marriage. And listen, there's nothing wrong with wanting a companion to share your life with. That's a natural thing to desire. But for some women, that is the have all be all, even at the detriment of your God given purpose. And Vanita and I often talk about, okay, so you finally can get him to marry you, whatever he asks you, whatever. You get in the marriage, and then what?
Yeah, like what happens after that? What are you really searching for? What are you really looking for? Do you have your own life going on? Do you expect him to just sit in the house with you, go to work, come home, sit in the house, you cook a meal, and y'all
Yes.
sit there? Like, that's quite boring if you ask me. Like,
What is your
mm,
bigger purpose? And when I say
yeah.
this, for uniting with this person, Because a lot of us, we like to get into relationships because of loneliness, because of fear, because of money,
Hmm.
financial reasons, and then
Having kids.
having kids. That's a whole nother part of the matrix. Why do people think just because you get into a relationship and a marriage, you got to have kids? You don't have to have children. You can have them if you want to have them, but there's no rule that says because you marry a man or you marry a woman that you have to reproduce with that person. Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of times it's the reproducing that causes a lot of the issues in the relationship. And I'm not blaming it on kids. So it's not that, but the stress of bringing a new baby into a relationship really does take a toll on a lot of marriages. It really, really does. But people, for again, going back to programming, this is why you think you have to have a baby because you get married, or you have to have a baby. I'm going to take the marriage out in our community because it don't even be marriage. It's just that you get into a relationship and you have to have a baby, and that's just not the truth. And I want us to become aware, because you can still do it if that's what you want to do. It's your life, but I want us to at least become aware of these programs that have been pushed off to us, particularly women, because at the end of the day, it's usually us who end up suffering, right?
It's usually you that's taking care of the kid, most definitely.
Men don't. This gonna
And
sound bad.
most women, if you think back to prior to having your kids, I know for myself, I was much lighter, much, uh, I perceived happier. I moved around a whole lot more freer. It was easier to date. Um, just, I definitely changed once I had my daughter. I have more worry, and not per se worry for myself, but worry for my child and the success of my child in this world. So, and those are a lot of pressures that you put on yourself. That's a lot of weight that you put on yourself, because when you're focused just on self, then it's just easier to maneuver and a lot lighter to maneuver, because when we're making choices for a whole nother individual, you don't want them to fail. You
Yeah,
can take failure within yourself a whole lot easier than you can take the failure for your child,
yeah,
you know. So you have to look at those type of things and ask yourself, is that really what you're ready to do? Because even getting into a relationship with a guy, majority of the time, because a child comes out of your womb, they're just automatically more attached to you than they are their father. They have to, the men have to want to, and making uh, a conscious effort to make that connection with that child. When with you, the connection, not to say it's this euphoria, like this unconditional love thing, not that, because I don't believe that actually happens. Maybe for some ladies that it does, but I know several, including myself, that it wasn't this, oh my God, unconditional love, and they just love me so much. It's more of a needy type energy, because as a baby they do need you. they
yeah.
they don't understand the world, so they do connect to you on a deep level, because they need you in order to survive. You're all they know. But it's not this euphoria type thing. So you have to consciously be ready for the sacrifice that you're going to take, because you're going to go to the back burner to ensure that your child is successful, because most mothers want their children to be successful. So your focus is going to be there, as opposed to your purpose and why you came into this world.
And even the relationship. That's why a
Yeah,
lot of relationships they're ending.
facts.
It's no longer fun. See, ladies,
Yeah.
what men aren't telling you, because men don't like to look like the bad guy. They don't like
Hmm.
to look like the bad guy, so they keep a lot of their internal secrets to themselves. But if you watch them, they'll tell you the story. they like fun. Like they like to have fun. That's why they like that's the real what reason why they always say they prefer women without children, because they like fun. They like to have fun. You don't want to
Mhm.
be obligated and tied down to no kids. That's why I say the Snow White syndrome, the stories, the lies that you've been sold as an adult, because you think because of movies, TV shows, and books that you're gonna have this baby and you're gonna be this happy family. He's gonna be playing outside with the baby and rubbing your tummy and all of that, and you're processing through the movies. You're processing through that.
So let me say this, ladies. Will they rub your stomach if they're connected into you? Yes. But realistically, how long do y'all perceive? It's 24 hours in a day. You're up, you're working, you're doing all these things. How long do you think he's gonna sit there and rub your stomach? How long do you perceive that euphoria of a feeling is going to last compared to a whole entire day? And then you're only pregnant 9 months. So that part it washes away, it's gone. Playing outside in the yard with the kids, they're babies before they even start walking. They're usually close to 1 years old before they start walking. So that whole 12 months, what do you think is happening that 12 months? Do you think he's coming in changing diapers? Because what Cinderella's story didn't show you is that diapers had to be changed.
Right. All that.
They gonna scream and yell in the middle of the night. That they gonna be crying, and given some kids are good babies, because realistically my daughter was good. She
Yeah.
wasn't a crier. She slept through the night. I didn't have a lot of woe is me's, if you will. In her baby years she was really a good baby, but that's not everybody's reality.
That's right.
Some kids have colic, kids have all kind of stuff going on. So that rubbing the belly, those pictures that y'all see on Instagram, them baby photo pictures, yeah, that's one little snapshot. Pick your phone up and take a picture of yourself. How long did that picture last? How long did it take for you to pose for that picture? Be realistic is what we're saying. Don't live in a fantasy world. Be realistic. Don't get sold the okey doke.
That's all we're saying. Snow White syndrome. Women live in too much of a fantasy, and we're making choices based on a fantasy that doesn't even exist. And let me get a little deeper with this. If you think about it, the movies and TV shows and books and all of these things that have programmed women to think that this gonna end in some prince coming to save you and you're gonna get married and live happily ever after. That's not even based, and I'm talking about in our community, meaning the black community. Those movies, books, and TV shows are mostly written by the dominant society. The template is not even based on the template of most of the men that you will encounter, which are our men, like men or whatever. That's not even the same template. So they're not even gonna have the same. They don't really have the same anything, the same culture, the same mentality, the same anything. They have a culture primarily that's based deeply in family roots. Let me give you an example. My doctor, not doctor's dad, he's an older guy. My doctor got to be, I don't know, 60 or in his 60s, not a primary doctor. His dad started to practice. Now his son is in there. Now my doctor's son is in there. They have a culture of pouring into family and being really tight knit like that, where it's not that way. We got a whole culture of single family homes for whatever reason. That our men don't stay in the house with the kids. I don't know what that's about, but it's been going on for quite some time now. So that's a part of the reason we're as women trying to recreate this thing, because a lot of us never had it. You never had a man in the house. You probably know your dad. If you do, some people don't, and if you do, it ain't like they be checked in like that. For the most part, that's just the truth. I think it's getting better, a little bit better now in this generation. I will say this generation of men seem to be checking into their kids. To me, this is my perception, better than the last generation of men. I will give them that. But we have a
Mhm.
long way to go because it takes a lot, particularly for the boys. Boys really need their fathers. Boys need a male that they respect and admire to pour into them to validate them. Because if you, what you're seeing now, that's why you hear a lot of women complaining about, our black men acting like, little boys, or they ain't grown up, or they're lost, whatever. That's because they didn't have anybody to validate them. That's very important, and it has to be a male figure, so they grow up and they look to other sources to try to figure out what a man is, and how to, and where to go, and what that means. And unfortunately, they don't have a lot of good role models to choose from, so they just kind of have to wade in the water. That's
I
why.
agree.
Yeah, they have to wait in the water. That's why if you get with a lot of them, you have to a lot of times, unfortunately, show them and teach them a lot of stuff because they just don't know.
I agree with that. So Marcus in the chat is saying that he raised his young daughter by himself from the age of 4 years old. She's now second year in college. That's fantastic, Marcus. And I do see your post prior to that saying his comment was after the milk is gone out of the mothers, dads who are in the house, most cases are in a better relationship with their children. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes that's not. But Marcus, the case is the fathers in the home with them, because it's fantastic that you are, but that's not the case a lot of times in the community.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so we understand what you're saying, and congratulations to you for sticking in there with your daughter, definitely, because a lot of fathers don't.
absolutely.
Um, Caesar is also saying that Walt Disney sold little girls a fantasy, love and hip hop, so grown women fantasies. You're right. It's going from Cinderella's story to love and hip hop in shows like that, because they do sell them a fantasy as well.
Yeah,
You're,
yeah.
you're
I
right.
mean, that's what the media does. That's what the media is. It's up to us to know that it's just fantasy. It's just media. It's just movies.
Yeah, it's just smooth.
It's
And
not real life.
again,
What?
Love and Hip Hop lasts all of an hour. The show lasts an hour. They're not giving you everything that's happening in the show, but even within the show, you see that some of them relationships don't fall through.
Most of
You get
them.
to, yeah, you get to the next season and they with a whole nother chick.
And not
So
only do they not fall through, the ones that do fall through, if you look at Love and Hip Hop, them girls done went through some shit with these men.
they have,
Side babies, I mean, marriages ending once the babies came. I mean,
and we
that's
can go
really,
from love and hip hop to married to medicine to it's so many of them. It's so many of them. A lot of times it's the same stories over and over and over.
yeah. And I don't want women to think just because one you get in one relationship. And not saying that all relationships will end bad or it will be drama in our relationships, because that's not true. But I don't want women to think you're gonna go you just because you get out of it one, he was the wrong one. Now you finna get in another one and it's finna be all gravy. No, everybody is healing. Most of us
You
are
have to
broken.
stop and self reflect. So when you get out of the relationship, as opposed to looking at or saying to yourself that you chose the wrong one, ask yourself why you chose him. Because keep in mind, you chose him too. He didn't put a gun to your head to make you be there, stay there, or have a kid. So ask yourself, why did I choose this type of situation? And start self reflecting. Look at yourself and ask yourself, why did you draw in that type of individual? What are you trying to show yourself? What are you trying to teach yourself?
I said, what from this experience with this man, what was I trying to teach myself? What was I supposed to learn about me?
Exactly.
Because once you can really start seeing yourself in these relationships, you can really start evolving and you can actually begin to make better choices. You can begin to make better choices, but we have got, as women, we have got to start looking at ourselves, man. We can't keep going
Definitely.
because what you're doing, you're just creating more baggage and creating more kids and then creating more depression.
That way.
Yeah, we got to stop. and say, okay, why did I choose him? Why did I take certain things? What was I supposed to learn? How can I improve? What won't I take anymore? Won't will what will I do better next time? Give yourself some time to heal and grow, because like I stated earlier, just looking at Kendra's show, a lot of the girls be fresh. They babies be fresh out of the vagina.
1 years, 2 years. I've seen 3 years old. I don't think I've seen from the ladies older than that on the shows that we've seen. And mind you, we haven't watched all of them, but we've watched enough. And I want to say these ladies, 3 years old. Why are you even looking for another dude and you got a 3 year old?
Like, girl, and then it'd be 2 and 3 and 4. Like, what do you think is
Yeah.
gonna happen? You're gonna get in another relationship with another dude, and that's just gonna be the one. It's like, come, ladies, we've got, and again, we're being driven. We're being driven off the void. We're being driven off the need for male validation, particularly in the black community, because black women don't get the validation from men starting as little girls that other cultures of women get. Usually your daddy. That starts with your father. Most of fathers are not in the home. So women, black women grow up with this longing, this void and need for male validation. And it starts in your teens. That's why you see a lot of this is why you see a lot of black teenage girls get pregnant young,
Hmm.
because she instantly starts looking for the validation of men that she never had. She never seen it. So she thinks that this is what you're supposed to do, coupled with her fantasy, her fairy tale. So you got a combination of the fairy tale and the void. And you got boom, teenage pregnancy. Women think, okay, he's my man. Let's, start a family. We're gonna have a family, or at least if I have this baby, I can secure a baby mama position. You know what I mean? At least I can connect myself to him permanently, not understanding that that's actually a lot of times it makes the situation with him worse. Now
To
you
what
got
avail? To
now
what
you
avail?
got to
What are you
deal
trying to
with
get to?
him. What, 18 years?
Yeah.
18 years you're stuck to a
Mhm.
dude, which is
Exactly.
going to make it harder for you to not only move on to another one when the time is right, but to travel, to grow, to learn yourself. That's why it's important for us to have these conversations, because
Yes.
ultimately, definitely for the younger generation, because I don't want them to make the same mistakes a lot of us made. I don't want them to walk down that road. Unfortunately, kids, that's a permanent choice, and it affects your life permanently.
It does. And it's also for the ladies that's in their 40s too, because by this time, some of them, the ones that have had their daughters young, they're coming up and they're in their early 20s. So give the information to them. Stop holding back information. Don't be like our mothers, because they wasn't filtering down any information at all.
I agree.
Give them the information. Let them know. Tell them what the experience really, really, truly is, what you went through, what your experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Give it to them all so that they can make a sound decision and make sure that they're making the best choices for their life.
Absolutely. Don't have them tie themselves down to a man and a baby if they don't have to. It's so much life to live. And like Vanita said, it's harder for women to find out who they are and to find their purpose in life when you have to keep another human alive.
Yes, it is.
It makes it harder. And we don't have to take we don't have to take the hard road. And we need to start telling the younger generation we owe it to them to keep it real, so they
Yes.
don't have to keep making this same mistake, because we know where it's coming from. This
Yeah.
fatherlessness is just it has really wreaked havoc on our community. It
Yep, you
really,
gotta
really has.
combat the fatherlessness within the community. You gotta combat what we're seeing in the media, because the media is all about money. So they're gonna
Yeah,
sell you whatever in order for you to keep pouring money in so that they can get theirs out.
facts.
period.
Yeah,
They're not for your higher good. There's no part of anything that they do is for your higher good. They don't
it,
care.
they don't. And young women be thinking too serious, too young. You get in these relationships way too young. And I listen, some relationships do work out when you're young.
They
I'm not
do.
saying all relationships don't work out when you're young or whatever. They're getting in them young and creating these families and you don't even know yourself. You're not the same at 20 as you are at 30. You might not
That's
even
true.
like him no more,
Yeah, that's
you
true.
didn't even know what you wanted or who you were when you got with him. But now there's a baby involved,
Definitely.
so now the marriage is over, the relationship is over. You got to try to date with the baby. It's just it's a cluster F. That's why it's
Hmm.
important for us to have these conversations. It's important. So, like Vanita said, when younger women, the younger generation can make a better informed choice because they're like Vanita said, our mamas weren't talking like this.
They just wasn't. They were not. There was a lot of things that was not talked about. I know. I remember when I went to tell my aunts that I needed to have a hysterectomy because I had fibroids, and my aunt was like, "Oh yeah, I had it too," and she said it so nonchalant, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yo, you didn't think that information was valid and necessary to filter down to us? Like,
Yeah.
you didn't think to tell us there's a great chance that you may have fibroids, as you get older, definitely as black women, they really don't know the source of where it comes from because we've heard food, we've heard chemicals in your hair, we've heard a million different things on how you end up with fibroids, but it's not like something you put on yourself, it's something that happens to your body, and explain it through. But instead, all of a sudden, we start having symptoms, and those of us that do have insurance to go to the doctor will go to the doctor to find out. But it's probably a ton of women out here in the world that have never went to the doctor to find out what the truth is on that.
Mhm.
All the way down to celebrities watching. If you guys watch Brat Loves Judy, Brat just went to the doctor and found out she had fibroids and was a little thrown off by the whole thing. You have to look at things like this and filter down the information so everybody will be informed.
That's all we're saying. And I know a lot of times with women, the reason why we don't really like to live in what's real, the truth of things, because a lot of times the truth of how the world really works, how relationships and men really are, that's a bitter pill for a lot of women to
It is.
swallow. Because we've already made some decisions that we cannot take back.
Pretty
So
much.
to know that it was all not the case or a lie, that hurts a lot of times. It's easier to stay in the fantasy
It
than to
is.
live in the truth. And unfortunately, living in the fantasy is gonna continue to hurt you in the end though. That's why it's important for us to recognize what's real. There's a battle really for you. There's a battle for your mind. The media,
Yes,
matrix,
that's true.
religion,
Hmm.
your culture, because there's a cultural matrix too.
Yes, it
You're
is.
going to go against your culture too. Like
Hmm.
there's some things that go on with that's in your culture that do not serve you. Some thought processes,
That's true.
like there's some within our culture that just don't serve you, to follow and to listen to. You're constantly in a battle for your mind. Men are gonna be constantly telling you what you need to do, how you need to be a woman, what what you need to do to get their attention, and how you need to act for them to marry. It's a constant battle for your mind. You got to be strong in the mind in the matrix. And
Just
we're
know
gonna
that most people are opportunists,
Yeah,
period.
people are about their own bottom line. And
Period.
That's a bitter pill for a lot of people to swallow because it's like,
Oh, yeah.
well, why would you do that, or why would you treat people like that? That's how women are. Why would you? Why would they do that? That's not right. Da da da. It's not right. I would agree, but that's how it is. Again, we got to live in what is and not what we think it should be.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, you're in black women. We're in a situation that a lot of other races of women are not in, because at least a lot of them have their men backing them, or they can rely heavily on the men in their culture to, to protect them, to do this, to do that. It's not that way. There are some in our culture that, they do that, but for the most part, that's a lot of us are on our own. You know,
Unfortunately, it's just not the majority. And for
yeah,
the men that do stand up, take care of their kids, are supportive to women, do try to protect women, hats off to you. The
yeah,
problem
absolutely.
is it's not enough for you guys. It's just
Yeah,
not enough for you guys.
which is why it's even more important for women to really, 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 really understand your thoughts and what you're taking in and what you're believing and what you're letting society and people convince you of and tell you. You really got to be careful of what you intake into your mind, because your mind is what creates your reality. Your thoughts is what's creating everything around you. So if you're constantly, well, they said that we're supposed to do this, and they said that we're supposed to do that, and men said that we're too masculine, and men said that we're not good enough because we got a kid, and men said, because a lot of it be men. I'm just gonna keep it real. Y'all be listening to what men say, because the sun rises and sets on their ass for a lot of women. I don't know why, but okay, men say this, men say that. Men are about their bottom line. Again, there are some exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, men are about their bottom line. Men, for the most part, they're trying to get sex. I know that's going to be hard pill to swallow. The men are not going around thinking about no fairy tale marriage, and no, they don't even think like that. That might come after, maybe for some of them, but the bottom line is they want your body. Let me say that
That's
again.
what draws them in. Their looks, they're all about looks at the end of the day. So
They want your body
yeah, they have to be attracted to you.
for
They
sex.
do. They want that. They want, like she said, your body.
For sex.
It takes men a minute to click into the fairy tale story. It takes
if
them a
if they
minute.
ever do.
Yeah,
Some
if they
men
ever do, because
never do.
some of them just they felt
Never
like they
do.
were burnt way back in the day, probably from their kids' mom in their 20s, and they don't tend to recoup from that.
You gotta understand men don't process, most men don't process via emotion like that. That's more of
That's
a woman thing. So they're
mm,
not getting what you're thinking. Gosh, she's just so wonderful. I'm just gonna fall. You know
so
what?
fucking creepy.
I'm just gonna fall in love with her. That's not what they're thinking. They're looking at you thinking she's beautiful, she's sexy. I can't wait to see, how she look under that dress or whatever. And when you have to be aware of that, you have to be aware that it's two different thought processes, going on here. And that's just how they're made up. They're not bad people, because it's just how they are. And it's just like, eh, a snake is a snake, a turtle is a turtle, a cow is a cow. You don't get mad at it because it's a cow. That's just what it is. That's how you kind of have to approach men, because if you don't, you'll kind of stay feeling some type of way about them. It just kind of is what it is. The cure to this is, for a lot of women, the cure to this is you got to find a life. A lot of women don't have a life outside of taking care of kids. And because you kind of stuck, or you stick yourself taking care of kids, again, I don't have children. Vanita do. She can, talk more on this. You kind of waiting for a relationship to give you something else to do. You got to find something else to do. I often ask, uh, what if there were no men on the earth and no kids to take care of, what would you do with your time? Ask yourself that. If there were no men on earth, you had everything you needed, but there were no men here and there were no kids to take care of, what would you do with your time? A lot of women don't know what you would do with your time because all your time has been wrapped around men and children, men and kids, men and kids, men and kids. So what? Think about that. When you get a chance, just think about that. What would you do with your life if there were no men and kids on? If they disappeared right now, what would you do with yourself? Start there. Start there, and also cultivate. I don't. I'm pretty blessed to have a lot of good girlfriends. We hang out, we take trips, we do this, we do that. So I have a pretty busy life, even when I don't have a boyfriend. At the time, I'm not in a relationship. I still have a very busy life because I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of things to do. Cultivate, relationships with your friends. Y'all go out. It's so much to see and do, whether you're traveling, going out to eat, brunch, whatever, shopping, whatever you do. Cultivate friends with you. Do things with your friends, until that time comes. I'm trying to say, find some space to where you're not so focused on, oh my God, am I going to be in a relationship? Oh my God, is he coming? Da 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 da. Because actually, men prefer it more when you have your own life.
They do. I
They
agree with that.
do. So you want me to put so much strain on them? They don't. They don't want to. They can't be your everything, nor do they want to be your everything.
Hmm.
So it's important for you to have your own life. We gotta. The cure for this being male centered, ladies, is finding a life for yourself. And I'm gonna go a little deeper. Most women don't even know your purpose. What are you here for on earth? We busy chasing men and marriage, but you don't even know what you're here to do. What did you come to earth for? What's your purpose? Again, take the men off the earth, take the kids off the earth. How would you spend your time? Start there. Because it's important. True fulfillment comes when when you start walking in your purpose. Let me tell you something. When you start walking in your purpose, all of this deep desperation for men and relationships, it don't even be that deep. It don't be that deep because you have so
So,
much. It's almost like having a destination of going to Kroger, right? You know
okay.
how to get there. For me, I know I got to go out of my subdivision, make a left. Da, da, da. I know the destination. I have a map because I know where I'm going.
Hmm.
A lot of women don't know where they're going because you don't know what your purpose is. Because we don't take time to try to figure it out because we're so focused on men and kids and social media now. Social media is another distraction. So on top of that, the little time you do have, people are logged into Facebook, logged into Instagram. Now it's a TikTok, it's a Twitter, and it's so many distractions. So you don't really get time to spend time with yourself and God to figure out what you even here for. And that's a choice. We all have a choice of how we spend our time. But I can't tell you this, these men ain't gonna save you. I can guarantee you that. You can keep on chasing them and running behind and going from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship. That I can almost guarantee you it's all gonna end the same. You gotta find your purpose because once you find your purpose, you will align with the souls who are supposed to be on the journey with you, including your partner.
It's very true.
That's how it goes. That's why it's important to find your purpose. Spend time trying to figure that out instead of spinning like a hamster on a wheel, going from man to man to man to man, and then producing kids in the interim. We're going to talk a lot about purpose on this podcast because that's the part a lot of women are missing because nobody taught us that. We've only been taught to what chase men in relationships and have kids.
Again, the information wasn't filtered down from our elders.
It just
I don't think
wasn't.
they were in a different space. They had different plights though. So I just don't think they were able to.
Yeah. I mean, they just wasn't. And Vanita is right. So, we're given a better opportunity
Hmm.
because we're just in a better, honestly, financial position than a lot of our
Exactly.
mothers were and
Exactly.
grandmothers were.
Hmm.
So we have a better opportunity to, you know, discover who we are because you don't necessarily have to be, we're in a time where women, you can do what you want to do. You don't have to be necessarily locked down, to the status quo, like our grandmothers did, who had 8 and 9 and 10 kids, and 6 kids and 4 kids, and because they had to have them work on the farm and all of that. We don't
That's
have to
true.
do any of that anymore. So
That's
you're
true.
in the prime time to be able to discover who you are and find your purpose in life. There's really no better. That's true fulfillment. The fulfillment y'all looking for in men is really purpose that you're looking for. But again, you don't know what you don't know.
You don't.
Yeah, nobody taught us. And like I was saying, I don't know. Vanita can kind of tell you because I don't have children how you make space for your own self when you have a child because I don't know what that's like.
The only thing I can advise, and I know I've said it on other shows before, is create boundaries. You have to create boundaries and space for yourself. That may be easier said than done for me because I did have a fantastic support system when it came to raising my daughter. So I was able to create that space. But if you can find a way, try to find a way to create space for yourself, um, on a daily to weekly, at least a weekly basis. It should not be a once a month type thing. You just not your energy, yourself is not going to be refilled and uplifted once a month. You really need to try to create that space once a week. If you cannot every day, maybe 2 times a week, something to that effect.
I agree. I
Don't
100%
feel like
agree.
every single time your kids holler that you have to run to them, run to their rescue. How do you think, if you wasn't here, how do you think they're going to survive? You have to teach them and show them how to survive without you here, how to use critical thinking to make choices on their own.
I,
That's I would have to say that's the best way. That's what I try to instill in my daughter. If I step away, God forbid, today, can you self-sustain? Will you be able to make logical choices for yourself?
yeah,
That's how you teach them to succeed.
absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll talk more about that. Definitely what other mothers and other women will have on the show in the weeks to come. That we're definitely going to talk a lot about purpose and how you find your purpose and what that kind of looks like. Because it's a process. It ain't just you just drop bam. That's my purpose. It's kind of how it works.
No,
God reveals it over time. So we'll
you
definitely
It's not that simple, you guys.
yeah.
It's really not that simple. I mean, I know we're saying what we're saying. Telling you this to try to get you on the road, but we have been in this self-discovery game close to 20 years now. We
Yeah,
have been in it for a long time, and it's not easy. And you can't be hard on yourself behind it either. It's a day by day process. It's a day by day choice
it is. It really is.
at the end of the day.
And be patient with yourself. I'll definitely say that.
Yes.
Be patient with the process. Life
Yes.
is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Be
Yes.
patient with
Definitely.
yourself. And as long as you're on the path, it does eventually come together.
It
That
does.
it is a journey and it's a journey of patience. But once you're on it, it's a different feeling once you know you're actually walking in your purpose. It's a beautiful feeling to know at least I'm on the right path of what I know God sent me here in this lifetime to do. That's a beautiful thing. And that's what we're all searching for. Women and men alike, everybody is searching for purpose. So we're gonna talk a lot about that. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. Do you have anything else, V?
I don't this evening. I
Okay,
don't.
well, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, I appreciate you. Again, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe, and like the video as well, and hit the notification bell because we do shows on Sunday. We won't be here this Sunday. We have a bachelorette party weekend, so we'll be
Yes.
doing that. My cousin is getting married. I'm so excited and happy for her
Yes,
and her
yes. Woo,
fiance. Yeah, but we will be back on next Wednesday, 7:30, same time, same place, and I hope you can join us. You have anything else, V, before we
woo. Hope you guys have a wonderful
end?
evening. Enjoy the end of y'all summer. I know the kids are going back to school. Breathe. Be
Yeah,
patient with yourself with this process,
absolutely.
and all things
Absolutely.
will work out.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Good night.
Good night.